What's up guys, my name is Ace, and now that Season 1 of XDefiant is starting to settle in a little bit, many people are noticing a big issue with the Spiderbot. So I just wanted to make a dedicated video talking about this today, since I do feel this is becoming a big problem if you happen to get into a lobby where a lot of people are using the Spiderbot. Now, just a quick recap, with the Season 1 update, the cooldown for the Spiderbot was meant to go from 25 seconds up to 40 seconds, so it wouldn't be nearly as spammable, but it turns out after this update, there is still a 25-second cooldown on the Spiderbot, so that nerf didn't actually apply. And then the other part of the change with Season 1 was just a change to the behavior with the Spiderbot, and they mentioned it as some give and take, so there were some elements of the behavior they nerfed and some elements of the behavior they technically buffed. However, something that wasn't mentioned in the patch notes is they removed the one consistent counter to the Spiderbot once it has already attached itself to your face, and this was the ability to aim straight down and shoot your gun. If you did that, most of the time you would be able to shoot that Spiderbot and destroy it for yourself. Although it wasn't super consistent since you were hip firing, and especially with slow firing guns or like sniper rifles for instance, it was very inconsistent. But at least that was an option that you had once that Spiderbot hit you. And apparently that counter was actually an unintended bug, which they have fixed with the Season 1 update. And what this means is, since that main part of the nerf, the cooldown nerf, didn't apply, and they removed the most effective way to counter it, this turned out to be a very significant buff to the Spiderbot. And many people are already noticing this is getting out of control in some lobbies. In the lobbies where you have more than a couple people using the Spiderbot, this just makes for an insanely frustrating experience where if you notice several people are using a Spiderbot on the other team, you may be able to counter the odd one here or there, but for the most part, you're just going to run into an insanely frustrating experience, and that just causes tons of people to leave the match. And I honestly don't really blame them for that. Now, thankfully, Mark Rubin is on the case. He has already tweeted about this. It's great to see really quick communication like this from the team. And in this main tweet, he just described first how that ability to aim down and shoot at the Spiderbot was an unintended bug, and they did remove that bug. But that bug fix wasn't actually meant to go live with the Season 1 update. That was meant to go live later down the road when they took care of some other issues with the Spiderbot. And since they didn't take care of those other issues and they removed this, that's a problem, and he recognizes that. So he mentioned they will be reverting that specific fix for the next non-emergency patch. So once we get that patch, you will once again be able to aim down and shoot and destroy that Spiderbot until they make some future adjustments, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But first off, I want to talk about the timing of that. For a non-emergency patch, he obviously didn't give us any exact timeline on when we can expect this to be the case, but just based on a lot of his previous tweets in the past, he has explained the process of how their updates have to go live. Based on what he said in the past, I would likely not expect this update to come this week. I would say it's probably going to be next week, if not later than that, where we're basically going to be stuck with the Spiderbot in the state that it's in. Now, I hope I'm wrong on that. I hope they manage to get that fixed through within the next few days, but I won't be holding my breath on that. However, he did also mention for the future, they're going to change the way the Spiderbot works, so there's an easier and clearer way to get them off your own face. And we got a bit more clarification on that. Somebody responded to that tweet saying, I think something like a QuickTime event, being able to spam a certain button to remove them could work really well. And Mark Rubin said, agreed, this is what we're thinking as well. So it looks like we are going to have some kind of a QuickTime-like event where when that Spiderbot attaches itself to you, you can either like hold a button or mash a button really quickly in order to get that Spiderbot off for yourself. And honestly, I think that would be a solid change. I think one of the biggest frustrations with the Spiderbot is that lack of a feeling of agency over what's going on once it's already attached to your face. As it is right now, once that happens, the only thing you can really do is stand there and hope a teammate will shoot it off your face. Especially for now, where we don't have the ability to look down and shoot it. And that's the most frustrating part, is there's just nothing you can do. You have no control over that situation at that stage. So even just having a prompt to hold a button or press a button, even if you end up dying in those situations, I feel it would be less frustrating because at least you felt like you were doing something to try to counter that. You had some control over that situation, even if it didn't go your way. You at least had the ability to have input into that situation. So I'm definitely looking forward to that whenever that one comes. I don't know when we would expect a major change to that. But as of right now, when it comes to the Spiderbot, it's not like there are literally no counters. It's just the counters that are available are often inconsistent. So let's go over those at the moment. The first one is try to melee the Spiderbot as it's jumping toward you. Now, currently, Mark has admitted that this timing is bugged at the moment when it comes to that melee, and therefore it's totally based on luck at this stage. It's very inconsistent and super unlikely you'll be able to melee that Spiderbot out of the air, even though that's meant to be one of the intended counters. So you can try doing that, but it's probably not going to work. The next one is just try to shoot the Spiderbot and destroy it before it gets to you. Again, good luck with that. The Spiderbot seems to have a fair amount of health. It typically requires several bullets to kill one of them, and it's a very small target that's often moving very quickly, and it doesn't give you a whole lot of time to shoot back at it. That's not to say that you'll never be able to shoot one of these. It's just, again, not a really consistent counter for it. Now, something that is a lot more consistent is use the EMP grenade on your class, and if you hear a Spiderbot coming close to you, toss that EMP at your feet, and that will simply destroy the Spiderbot if it's within a radius. And this is an excellent counter, but the one problem with this is you get one EMP grenade every time you spawn, and if you've already used that EMP grenade for your life, well, too bad. That next Spiderbot is gonna get ya. And this leads me to the last final counter that I wanted to share for you guys here, and this is use Dedsec for yourself, but instead of using Spiderbot, use their hijack ability, which did recently just get a buff. With this one, if you see a Spiderbot coming up to you, you can just activate your hijack ability, which will turn that into your Spiderbot, and it will often turn around and kill the person that threw that, and that's really satisfying. In fact, somebody did that to me in this game where I was just trying to test out the Spiderbot to see what the cooldown was looking like and see how it's performing after the update. And I've got to say, it is super satisfying when you counter a Spiderbot in this way, but at the same time, I really don't want to feel like I need to run Dedsec with that hijack ability anytime I see more than one or two enemies using a Spiderbot on the enemy team, but as it is right now, that's definitely what I'll be doing. And there we go. As of right now, those are the most reliable counters to the Spiderbot. Also, of course, like I mentioned earlier, once it is attached to your face, your only option is to hope a teammate will shoot it off your face. And if you do see a Spiderbot attached to one of your teammates, just start shooting your teammate in the head, and you can actually destroy those Spiderbots fairly easily off their face, assuming they're not moving around and jumping and panicking like crazy. And with that, this just leaves us with my final thoughts on the Spiderbot. Well, for me, I just fundamentally disagree with having an ability like this in this style of a game. I think it's far too disruptive to the gameplay flow and pacing, and it's the type of thing that I find to be far more frustrating to run into than satisfying to use. And I think that balance between satisfying on the giving end versus frustrating on the receiving end is an important balance to strike when it comes to abilities. When you compare that to most of the other abilities in the game, most of them require proper timing or closing distances and getting yourself in a particular situation which requires risk. Or it might be an ability that gives you a leg up going into a gunfight, but you still have to win a gunfight against the enemy players. The Spiderbot just doesn't work that way. You throw it down, you follow it at a safe distance, and more often than not, you just get a free kill on an enemy player that can't effectively fight back. So that's how I feel about the Spiderbot in this game. I really don't like the ability in the game, but in saying that, of course, I also acknowledge that not everything is going to be catered to exactly what I like. And in pretty much any video game, you're going to run into things that you may not agree with, you may not like, but they're a part of the game. You have to learn how to counter them. You need to learn how to play around them. And I'm willing to do that. I'm just really looking forward to seeing some proper fixes to the Spiderbot to get it in a better place. And based on what I'm hearing so far, if they bring in a quick time event to take that Spiderbot off your face, and if they properly fix that cooldown so it's 40 seconds instead of 25, I think that would at least bring the Spiderbot to a reasonable level again, to the point where we're not seeing it consistently spammed by like 3 or 4 people in a match. But there we go. Those are my opinions on the Spiderbot, and this is where I'm curious to hear from you guys in those comments down below. How do you guys feel about the current state of the Spiderbots? And then what are your thoughts and feelings on how they're planning on adjusting the Spiderbot in the future? Do you think that would be enough to increase the cooldown properly like they were meant to, as well as provide a quick time event that allows you to pull that Spiderbot off your face? Just let me know all of those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.